Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben, and today we've got to talk about something extremely serious. Now, if you watched the Republican presidential debate last night, or if you watched Donald Trump's interview with Tucker Carlson, you'll know things are getting pretty serious when it comes to the presidential election heating up. Now, I've said, hey, guys, this is the most important presidential election we've had in, I'm going to go ahead and say it, the history of the United States of America. I know that sounds dramatic. I know that sounds drastic. But it's kind of like this. It's like, let's talk about working the way up through a company, okay? You work up through a company. You know what? Let's use sports as an example because I know y'all are nerds and y'all don't understand sports. But some of y'all might get this, and it's a really good reference, okay? Like, let's say you got a player for an NFL team. That player's at the end of his career. He's the backup quarterback, and, he's always looking at the books, looking at the plays, or looking at the playbooks, and he knows a lot. And what happens is he retires. Well, he gets to come on the coaching staff. Well, he comes on the coaching staff as a low-level coach, right? And then eventually he rises up through the ranks, becomes the linebackers coach, and he's the defensive coordinator, and then eventually he's the head coach. Now, a lot of times you'll have a head coach in the NFL and their team's terrible, okay? But the fans like the coach. The team's just bad. He did a better job when he's defensive coordinator. You can't, once you get to a certain level, move backwards because you lose all respect. Now, this is how it is with the dollar, okay? The dollar worked its way up the ranks, and after World War I or before World War I, somewhere thereabouts, actually, became the world reserve currency. And or that's at least the process that kicked it off and started rolling towards the dollar getting world reserve currency. Now that the dollar has world reserve currency, that it is, if we remove that, then the dollar collapses completely. Right? You can't go back to defensive coordinator. You can't go to just being a popular currency that's not the world reserve currency. Now, what's the timeline on this? Could heavily depend on the presidential election and whether or not this actually happens or not. We do lose the world reserve currency, which most people around the world would say probably like 75% chance we're going to lose it at this point. I want to go back to what caused this, guys. And I don't want people to think. I talked to a guy the other day, and he seemed to be under the impression that I'm like pro-Russia and anti-Ukraine. I could not be further from the truth. What I am is I'm talking about I'm anti-Russian sanctions when it comes to the dollar. Because now that we've seen what happens. Joe Biden single-handedly made the dumbest decision in the history of the United States of America when he put Russia on sanctions. Not regular sanctions like we put on Iran or literally they can't use their money. They froze their bank accounts. Okay, so they can't use their US dollars. Guys, it's not about Russia. It's not even about the Russian people, which is sad for the Russian people too. It's about all the places that you do business with. Who does Russia do business? You're not just cutting off Russia from the financial system. You're cutting off all of their trading partners as well. So you're cutting off, obviously, the BRICS nations. Guess why the BRICS nations rose up and created this dual economy? Brazil is BRICS. Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. Those 5 countries, all affected by the Russian sanctions. Guys, about a third of the entire world probably was affected directly by Russia getting their assets frozen. And so you can't have a world reserve currency that's a standard across the world that people can expect to trade with and then pick and choose who can trade with it, regardless of what they've done. Now, look, if it was a tiny, small little country, like maybe you could have gotten away with it. But Russia is very, very important to the world stage. You couldn't do this. The worst decision a president's ever made. It's leading, Yellen's already said it, is leading to us losing the dollar as the world reserve currency. Okay, now I say all that because now we've got major news with BRICS. They've now invited 2 more countries, and 2 countries that I knew traded with Russia, and I was wondering why they were included, Saudi Arabia and Iran. You got your money, you got your power in the Middle East right there. And, it's the kind of thing where when the money from these countries come in, this is not good for the United States. The BRICS is getting stronger while we're getting weaker. Every partner that leaves, this is they're going to go to BRICS. It doesn't matter what the numbers are right now. Speaking of numbers, don't forget to sign up at Stake, our favorite sponsor, the main sponsor of the channel. Stake is what allows me to make these serious videos where I explain to you things that are, extremely important on the world stage and the world events, and they have to be paused for a Stake mention in the middle of the videos. So thank you, Stake. Back to what's serious though. Okay. The fact is that there's a good chance we're going to lose world reserve currency. You got these 2 countries coming into BRICS. BRICS is getting stronger. The United States is getting weaker. Now, when it comes to the presidential election, what do we want to see happen? Do we want Donald Trump to win? Do we want Vivek Ramsaway, I really like him, to win, or DeSantis? On the other side, do we want Robert Kennedy Jr. to win? Look, I got my guy. I know who I want to win. If you know me, you probably know. But the fact is that as long as the name on the presidential Oval Office by the end of January 2025 is not Joe Biden, that's in our best interest. Guys, we cannot let Joe Biden win. Well, it's obvious, right? If Joe Biden wins, it's a rigged election. There's no doubt about it. There's nobody out there excited about Joe Biden running for president. And the guy can't even stay asleep, in a ceremony for the Maui victims. And I tell you, this Maui thing going on in Hawaii is very interesting for so many reasons, but it's some of the liberals are starting to turn on their own party because they're not sending them aid and they're not taking it serious because people believe, I'll tell you what they believe, I don't know if it's true, I haven't dug into it, I got too many other things. They believe Oprah Winfrey and some real estate people concocted this whole thing and set it on fire on purpose so she can have the land she wants around her property now. They say she's done it before. I don't have the evidence on that. People can go look it up. That might be a conspiracy, but that's what I'm hearing. And so, their own party's starting to turn on them. And you just can't imagine Joe Biden. Now, I can't imagine the Democratic National Convention not allowing Joe Biden to run as president. So if they choose somebody else, which originally, like maybe a year or two ago, I heard that they had Gavin Newsom on the docket. That's who they wanted. He's running now, but there doesn't seem to be any support for him. I think it's because the people that run Joe Biden know any other candidate that comes in will be harder to maintain and harder to do your business through than Joe Biden. He's so easy because he doesn't know anything. He doesn't do anything. So guys, it's a very pivotal point in our country. And I said this. I was talking to my Uber driver last night, and I said this, guys, 100% true. I mean, if Joe Biden wins again, I'm out of this country, guys. There is no doubt about it. Full time, I'm out of America. There is no way I'm going to sit through another Joe Biden presidency. He's already single-handedly destroyed America, basically, by what he did with Russian sanctions. But it ain't like he's got a good track record on anything else. So, guys, as we get more towards the presidential campaign, we got the first debate last night. Obviously, this is going to be something that is going to be relative to our economy, which is relative to crypto, right? And so we are going to have to cover stuff like this, even though, I know people don't love politics. Crypto and politics are now hand in hand. They are, connected at the hip, if you will. And so we're going to have to talk about these things, so be prepared for that. And, look forward. We should be doing our show live here tomorrow. We were supposed to do it live today, but ran into some issues. So Nick and Tim, good job back home. You guys know that's Tim's first step towards taking over my channel. All right, guys, that's all I got. Be blessed. Bye-bye.